Mamai Flabo! Well, can you see the energy in the room tonight? You know, I was outside and you guys were making so much noise. And I swear that you had 5,000 people here tonight. Nancy did ask the question tonight, where is our money? And so I'm not going down that road. Because tonight I want to play a different role. I want to take some time and to speak to the young people that have stayed back. I heard today that you guys had a really lit session. I heard that you guys, the youth link up was outside. I hope that lingo. So I feel very deep inside that something exciting is happening within the United Workers' Party right now. I looked at the Facebook coverage of the march of our political opponents, and I look at the wealth of talent that was represented at the platform here tonight. And it is clear to me that the momentum is clearly on the side of the United Workers' Party. Mamai Flabo, I am so proud to be part of an organization that has looked to the future. I must commend our national executive. I must commend our hardworking General Secretary for the great job that they have done here today. I must commend our youth president. I must commend our young people for organizing themselves. They say that when young people come together, that the most ordinary people can do the most extraordinary things. And so to you, the youth, it may just seem like you came for a meeting. But I want to tonight stress on the significance of the link up that you had tonight. You see, the reason why I'm proud that we are staring the future with all of its problems in its face is because the United Workers' Party, as the chairman told us, has always been the party in St. Lucia that has looked to the future. Yes. When St. Lucia had a housing crisis, it was the United Workers' Party that built Ridley Park. Yes. It was the United Workers' Party that built the Sanssouci housing scheme. It was the United Workers' Party that built Entrepot. So we have always been a party of the future. And the Labour Party has always been a party of destruction and a party of the past. And so, Mamai Flabo, what we showed St. Lucia tonight was just a snippet of what is to come in a promising future that exists within the ranks of the United Workers' Party. I thought there for a second, I say Spider, who's a good friend of mine, I had to wonder whether he really liked me. Because he had me to speak after Kishon. Joshua, who was amazing. So was Kishon. Vilma, who was a firecracker from my area in River Meter. Rush from Castries Central. Samuel from Meekwood South. And then the Pepper, Nancy Charles from Viewfort North. But Mamai Flabo, as we gather here tonight, our young people are at the greatest level of risk. Their very survival is under threat. Very few empowerment programs by this government and no consequential budgetary allocation for the youth in the last 3 financial years. No wonder our young people remain despondent about our political system. I am still saddened that this government ended the National Apprenticeship Program, which the cabinet of which I was proud to be a part of, put a lot of effort into training hundreds of young people to compete for jobs right here in St. Lucia and all around the world. They went on cruise ships and worked for good money and developed themselves and fed their families and built homes and started a future. The United Workers' Party has always been a party of the future. And so, as we speak tonight, we must not lose sight of the fact that to many of the young people of which we will need to engage in this coming election, that those people to politics, it may seem boring, it may seem divisive, and even toxic. Overwhelmingly, people their age want politics to tell better stories, to reflect better values, and to solve rather than to worsen our country's problems. You, the young people that are here tonight, you want politics to reflect your vision, to reflect your dreams, to reflect your aspirations. Politicians insulting each other can seem detached from your reality, from your issues, from your problems, and can be discouraging to you, the young people of our country. My mother often asked me, son, why are you in this profession where all people do is bring each other down and find mudslinging and to stain each other's character? Don't get me wrong, my mother looks at every show and she's among one of my biggest supporters. But with good reason. She was worried about the mudslinging and the character assassination that's so often associated with politics. Like many St. Lucians, she feels that our parliamentarians should be about passing laws that will better the life of the people of St. Lucia rather than sending Mwepri at 2 opposition members in the parliament pass laws so that the lives of the people of the country can be better. My mother agreed with a former US president who said that politics is often not the solution to our problems. Politics is the problem. Many St. Lucians often voice their concerns that political debates can sometimes seem distant from what they are going through. Their issues with high cost of living, of trying to send their kids to school, of trying to make ends meet and to make things happen for their children. As you know recently by now, that we have just received word from the doctors and nurses. They wrote a letter to the board of the Owen King EU Hospital complaining that our healthcare system has reached, under the Labour Party administration, an all-time low. Instead of fixing our healthcare system, our government is today busy marching for little progress that they have made in the last 3 years of our country. Our doctors decried regular occurrences of patients suffering severe illnesses and cannot find basic amenities like a bed in the hospital, or cannot get basic medication to help them cure terminal illnesses. Rather than address the doctor's concerns, a certain notorious government minister in the present cabinet felt that the wisest thing to do was to violently attack the president of the Mental and Dental Association. This to me only serves to undermine the public perception of politics and politicians. We don't need no more hopelessness in politics. We need politics to shine a bright light into this country. Let us then, therefore, lift up the torch of the United Workers' Party and shine a light and give our country hope so that people can believe in our political system again. All right, Spider, I forgive you for setting me up. Yet, this is a system which we depend on for good policies on student loans necessary for several young people that are here tonight, for scholarships that many young people aspire to, for cost of living and to create better paying jobs so that our young people can have a brighter future. This is the system through which we can make our country one of the greatest places on earth to live. This is the system that all of us hope that can cause us to realize our dreams and to be the best version of our individual selves. Our political system has a significant responsibility in delivering all those things. But as I speak to some youth here tonight, people like you have lost hope in this system. In fact, many here tonight might find it more interesting that Vybz Kartel was freed from jail rather than what our Prime Minister has to say on the news. I don't blame you, because not just you, many people have given up on our Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister has been the all-time worst Prime Minister in the history of our country. So while Ralph Gonsalves in St. Vincent is taking Vybz Kartel to breakfast and is being featured on TikTok, our Prime Minister is the most featured Prime Minister on Lucian memes. While they ask questions as to whether, a simple question, did you or did you not attempt to settle with Philip Martinez out of court? Our Prime Minister said, lawyers speak to lawyers. Poor Andre Paul is still waiting for his question to be answered. And when they ask him continuously, what are you in your capacity as National Security Minister going to do about the current crime crisis? The Prime Minister says, my father was the police officer. I am not the police officer. And so I understand where you are, young people of this country. In the election of 2016, the research suggests that 55% of our electorate showed up to vote. And in the election of 2021, only 51, 4% less, thousands of St. Lucian less, went to the polls to cast their votes. It tells you that more and more people in our country is increasingly losing their trust in the political system. And many young people are among those that are disinterested, that are not engaged. I often remark, though, that this generation, the young generation, all that talent that you see that spoke to us today with such power and vigor and vitality, that they are the most educated generation. They are the most innovative generation. They have the best access to information and the best access to technology. But yet, they are the least inspired by and the least engaged in our political system. So if our most educated generation doesn't confront the challenges of our failing political system, then it makes it harder to create the effective change needed for nation building. If you remain detached from the political discourse of our country, then our country will be robbed of some of the most creative and sharpest and most innovative and brightest minds that we need to tackle issues like climate change and food security and the housing crisis and the crime crisis and all these issues which the St. Lucia Labour Party has continued to fail the country in. We need you, the young people, to organize yourselves. If you do not stand up, the current problem of too few scholarships will persist. If you remain uninvolved, a lack of investment in training the skills to compete in jobs for the future, the new economy of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and data protection will continue to be underinvested in. If you don't participate in this broken system, a lack of student loans crippling your ability to study will continue. If you don't get involved, a lack of effective programs to tap the wealth of entrepreneurial spirit that exists among you right here in this room will persist. By you remaining detached, it will create an environment that allows a housing minister to put more time in a toxic talk show than to mobilize the best minds and to solve the current crisis of affordable homes that we currently face in this country. History teaches me, though, this, that some of the greatest movement for change in nation building were when young people like you stood up. In our post-colonial period, when wages and working conditions were poor, young people stood up. The youth of that day organized themselves into trade unions, and they let the system of that time know that a fair day's work deserves a fair day's pay. They didn't come up with a minimum wage that was less than adequate to meet the basic necessity of life, where people who are living just above the poverty line can't make ends meet because of an insufficient minimum wage. It was at universities and colleges around the world that St. Lucian students contemplated, conceived, and executed our struggle to be a free people, and which ultimately led to our independence today. Again, young people stood up. They raised their collective voices against the oppressive system of the time and said that our country might be small, but if we come together and stand up, we can unleash a destiny and a purpose that is big and that is strong. Again, young people stood up. Young people in the 50s saw a future for the Caribbean that embraced freedom and equality for all. They felt then that regardless of who you know, what you look like, or which school you have been to, that we are one people, we are one nation with a common destiny. Again, young people stood up. Not so long ago in St. Lucia, people had to be of a certain skin color to work in banks and front desk of certain hotels. It was the young people who looked at this injustice in its face and said, "Judge me not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character." Again, young people stood up. All through history, young people like you stood up to make St. Lucia a more perfect place to live. It is now our time to stand up. It is now our time to lift our voices, to topple the failed policies of our generation and make St. Lucia a better place to live. Something must be wrong when a prime minister doesn't come clean on the real truth about the CIP program. Something is fundamentally wrong when year after year the youth unemployment is higher than the national unemployment in our country. And it must be something fundamentally wrong when a minister refuses to inform the public of how many passports he has allocated for an investment to do a certain project. And it must be intolerable when doctors in our hospitals get attacked for saying the truth about the poor state of our healthcare system, which continues to fail our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our uncles and our aunties and our children and our brothers and sisters. We must stand up. They need us to stand up. So it is now our time to stand up and end the senseless killings of young people all over this country. One of my heroes in ancillary canneries is a young man who, for privacy reasons, I will name Sebastian. And Sebastian, one evening, attended a social event in his community. And unbeknown to him, this was a night when gunshots would consume the atmosphere. And the crowd would scamper for safety. Sebastian was among 4 others who received gunshots in the crossfire that night. But as he laid on the ground in his own blood, he said these words to himself: "My life will not end here. I will not die like this. God, please don't make me die here. You know that there is something big that I have to do for you." Sebastian today goes around his community and encourages young men to stay away from gangs, stay away from guns, get a skill, get trained, get a job, start a business. Sebastian has stand up. Sebastian is standing up. And just like Sebastian, you too can stand up and cause change in your community. This is your time. This is your moment. Do something greater than yourself and stand up for change, everlasting change. I thank you, Mamai Flabo.